Well, thanks, Amy. And Amy's right. I'd like for you to turn your camera on. I know that everybody hates that, but when I tell a really dumb dad joke and everybody's face just kind of falls, I want to know, are you engaged or are you not engaged? So if you don't turn your camera on, I'm going to call you out. Say sorry, your camera was on to begin with, and then you turned it off. So I'm paying attention to who's out there and who's looking. And so that's part of what engagement is about, is how do we make sure that folks are paying attention and that we're paying attention to individuals. And so you can see here that I'm not an educator by training. Many of you will realize that I don't speak educator. The first time somebody said an articulation agreement, I thought they were talking about a robot. Robots articulate. And I didn't really understand what they were saying. So there's a whole language to education that doesn't exist in the rest of the world. And it's just like where I came from. You can see I'm a graduate of running manufacturing companies. And I say that's the Hogwarts of employer engagement. You don't get any more engaged than being an employer for 30 years. And so what I want to do is talk a little bit about what matters to employers. How do we relate better to employers? How can we more effectively talk to them? And how can we most easily say, we want you to be involved with us and we're here to help? Everybody's favorite phrase, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Usually that cracks people up because nobody feels like the government's here to help. Well, you're from a community college or you're from an education system and you are here to help. And so we want to be able to help those employers to see why you're here to help or how you're here to help. So we're going to see if I am technologically capable of moving the screen or the slides down. Nope. Look at that. See, already, there we go. So here's one of the things I want you to remember. This is about engagement, not sales. None of you would have stood on the top of the hill and tried to sell yourself to your potential spouse. You really built a relationship with somebody and you talked to them and found out what their needs were and how those matched with what you had to offer. Business engagement is very similar to that. You're not getting married at the end. So please don't panic, don't freak out. You're not getting married at the end. But in a way, your relationship with that employer is very much like your engagement with other individuals and other human beings. There's nothing better than that human to human contact. That's what makes this so difficult, the whole Zoom and all of that. And I said to Amy earlier, I was really looking forward to being able to be there in person and to see so many of you and for us to be able to kind of talk through business engagement and employer engagement. This is not magic. This is about building relationships. And remember, it's not a sales pitch. We don't want you to try and sell the school. We don't want you to build a program and to convince somebody to buy that program. That's not what this is about. And it's really important that you remember that. So here's one thing, and I know that this is really, really hard for people to understand. And I know that I put workforce development in there because so much of what I do is related to workforce development. But regardless of what the subject is, whatever you're doing at your school, it is not the top priority for employers. Remember that. They're looking at on-time delivery. They're looking at up in the corner here, you see customers yelling at you. They're looking at making money and HR problems and employee problems and benefits and on and on and on. And so whatever subject you're bringing to them, although it is top priority for us, it's not top priority for them. So don't feel like it's a put down for somebody to say, hey, I didn't understand you do that, or really, I don't have time to work on that. It's not something that is what they're going to do with their time on a daily basis. And in a lot of cases, what you'll see is when you've spent time working with businesses, sometimes it feels like it's pulling teeth. I have worked with one company developing an apprenticeship. We are on year number 4. They're a large pharmaceutical company. They have an enormous amount of bureaucracy, and it's not their priority. You can imagine in the last year and a half what a pharmaceutical company has been busy doing. It's not workforce development. Even though they're dying without people, we're all dying of COVID. And so they're working on a resolution to that. And so that's really the importance for employers is remember, our priority is not their priority. So what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to do the heavy lifting. So here are the keys to an employer's happiness. At least when I was an employer, these were the keys to my happiness. If you walked in my door, the first thing I wanted you to do is to ask me, where are your struggles? What can I do to help you? What solutions can I provide? Because you may assume that you know exactly what that employer needs, and you come in and you've got the greatest product since sliced bread, and it falls flat because the employer is looking for something totally different. And you may think that they're looking for workforce, and instead they're looking for how do we just engage our people that are on the floor today, or how do we upskill some folks, or how do we do other things? So be that solutions provider. Make sure that when you come in there with a solution, it's not something you're going to sell, but it is something that you can be flexible and creative with, that you can talk to the employer and you can say, how can I help you with that? How can I make this work for you so that you can most effectively continue to do those other things that you want to do and do them well, and that this wouldn't be a problem for you? So the most important thing on this page, expect to do the heavy lifting. You're going to be the one who keeps them on task. You're going to be the one who keeps the schedule and makes sure that things are getting done. And you're going to be the one who is consistently talking to them about, hey, do you want to move forward with this? And you're always doing that check. The whole, am I on the right track? Am I doing what you want me to do? And finally, one of the things I want to really encourage you to keep away from is it's not always about the money. Employers first ask about, oh, what incentives do you have? Or, oh, what will you pay for? Or are there tax breaks for this? But that's not really why they do it. And I would encourage you to step them back from that and say, let's talk about how this impacts your business in the long term. Because if you only do it for the money, you won't continue to do it when the money goes away. And that's a waste of your time as an educator. What you don't want to do is build a program that's built around a grant or built around some money that's out there, have the employers all dive in, and as soon as the money goes away, they quit sending students or they quit participating in it. So don't build programs about the money. But again, I'm going to go back to do the heavy lifting. It is so important for you to remember that their priority is other things. Even though this is incredibly important, it's not their top priority. And so let's make sure that we're doing the heavy lifting and we're helping them through that. All right, let's see if the button works. Did I skip one? No. So one of the things that I thought was interesting about the forum in the last couple of days is that this is about equity and looking through the equity lens. And frequently what we're stuck with is we feel like employers just don't get it. And I get that, but it goes back kind of to the idea that this isn't employers' top priority. If you're talking to an employer, they get the value of equity, but they don't know how to do it. They aren't equipped to do it. They feel like everything else is more important. And so again, it requires us to do the heavy lifting, for us to help them. It's no good to go and talk to an employer with a lecture about, Here's what you need to do. How many of us like to be told what to do? You look at, there are just dozens of people who rebel when they're told what to do, and they just say, well, I'm not at fault for that. No, so I'm not going to do it. So what I would encourage you to do is to go in with the, I'm here to help you. I want you to be successful. I want it to be good for your business. Those are things, those are words that you want to use. You want the employer to understand that you are there to make them successful, and their success is your success. Don't assume that the employer is going to push back and say, I don't care about equity. I don't think that employers are like that. And most employers will tell you, I don't care if people are from Mars. If I can work with them and they'll help me to be successful as a business, I'd love to have them here, but I may not be equipped and I may not know how to work with those individuals. And that's really where we come in as educators or workforce development specialists and individuals like that. So one of the things that I really want to do, and I'm going to take this screen off, and this is where I'm going to be staring at you, because so many of us who present say, oh, I want this presentation to be interactive. Well, I'm going to sit in silence if you don't interact, because I want to hear about what's it been like for you talking to an employer. When you've gone in and talked to an employer, what are the results? What does that look like? How do you feel like, gosh, I really missed the mark, or I hit the mark and I felt like that was exactly the message that needed to be sent? So now's the time for you to learn the most, because I can stand up here all day and tell you about what it would have been like talking to me as an employer and what would have mattered to me. But the place you're going to learn the most is from your peers who have talked to employers, who have failed at that, who have had good experiences. So I'm going to take the share down. I'm going to look and see, oh, there's no faces out there. Bring the faces back. I see Wanda. This is going to be, so some of you are of an age that you'll remember Romper Room. I see Wanda, and I see Brad, and I see Carrie. Carrie doesn't know what Romper Room is because she's way too young. It was a show that was on years ago, Carrie, and well, Mary remembers it good. I'm glad somebody.
You're showing the age.
Well, and I'll tell you, Wanda, one of the things that I tell employers all the time about, while you're getting your screens up, I'm going to tell this story. I tell them all the time about apprenticeship and why they shouldn't panic about losing people. Because with apprenticeship, they now know how to build their workforce. And so if you take somebody, they can backfill for it. So I said, it's kind of like the old Doritos commercial. Crunch all you want, we'll make more. And I got the dumbfounded look from many of the people who were in the audience. So I decided I'm going to go look it up. Does anybody want to wager a guess as to when that was from?
Let's say the 70s. I don't know.
You're close, Wanda. Carrie wasn't born then. I can guarantee it.
95.
1989. It was Jay Leno at the Super Bowl. Crunch all you want, we'll make more. For me, it was yesterday. I said to Amy, I got my flu shot last night, and I said to the pharmacist, how's that baby? And she said, you mean my 7-year-old? So what does that tell you? Time goes really quickly, and you lose track of that. And so Laura and Claudia and Jeff and Michael and Scott, you're on the list because you're not coming up. So no video for Marcy. Okay. Well, Marcy, we'll cut you some slack. There you go, Jeff. Hi. Thanks for joining. So talk to me. Tell me who's had an experience with an employer that they're willing to share.
I have, not here at Harper, but years ago, I was in the logistics business. And coming into the business, it was difficult to learn the job because, number one, I didn't always have the tools to do my job properly. And sometimes when I ask questions, I ask too many questions and I felt uncomfortable. And, I was like, this is not for me. This company is not for me. Because if I feel that I'm trying to give my all, it should be reciprocated.
And so when you talk to an employer today, do you engage with employers, Wanda?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
And I'm really glad to take this class because it would give me some feedback on how I should interact. Because I don't want to have that attitude with someone else that, oh, you should know your job when you come in here. That's not how that works, because every company is different, every genre is different. This is just a learning tool no matter where you go.
Right. And some of you smart people, because you're educators, you'll know who said this, and I don't know who said it. It might have been Stephen Covey, but I'm not sure. But it's seek first to understand.
Yes.
Was that Stephen Covey?
I'm not for sure, but it sounds familiar.
Okay. Well, I have heard that a lot. I think that that's critical to success with talking to employers. So Cesar, how are you? Tell me about an experience
I'm
talking
good,
to
thank
an
you. How
employer
are you?
and what it's been like. Did I lose you?
I'm here. I didn't hear your question. I'm so sorry.
So,
I was talking when you
tell
talked.
me what it has been like talking to an employer when you've gone out, you've talked to somebody and you've tried to interact with them or share what the college does or what the programs are.
When we visit employers or we have visits at Universidad Popular, we try to share with them what our participants are struggling with and what they are aiming to. And we ask them, what are you looking in an employee at your workplace? And so that help us and help also them to understand that participants are looking to improve their lives by learning the language and other skills, such as getting certifications and so on.